Cool, cool. Awesome possum. How's it going, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's been a minute since I streamed. Last week wasn't necessarily about crypto. So this week's stream is going to be a celebratory 5,555 subscribers. So once again, thank you all that have gotten this channel to that milestone. We're gonna go over the intro. We're gonna go over some of the comments, and then I do kind of want to go over like the first Hex video that I'd ever done a couple years back, and then also the first stream that I ever joined as well, which was Discourse Syndicate. That's actually in the description as well. So without further ado, let me just do the intro. We'll get right into it, and then we've got some other things as well. We've got a couple Hex books, which is really cool. This one's been around for a little while. What is DeFi? Guide to Hex. And then this one just came out as well that we're going to go into in just a few minutes here towards the intro, called The Hex Phenomenon with Matt Garabedian. So without further ado, let me do the intro, and then we'll say hi to everyone in just a second here.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, be sure to share, be sure to comment. Yeah. Say hey. Say hey, hey, woo! Hey, yeah! Say hey, woo! Say hey, yeah! Say hey, hey! Woo-hoo! Stake that hick, 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 stake that hick. Man, every time I look up, price went up. I go to the store, come back, price went up. Every time I look up, price went up. No matter what I do, price still going up. Hell yeah. Ching, ching, motherfucker. Ching, ching. I am the book. Ching, ching, motherfucker. I just keep hitting jackpot after motherfucking jackpot. We still jackpot, bitch!
Thank you, Richard, for creating and founding the most amazing and disruptive financial technology cryptocurrency ever. Thank you, sir. And nice streams, Mr. Ballietbran. It's fabulous.
Okay, and we're back. So I don't necessarily have like a super outlined order with how I want to do this, but I figured the most relevant thing I'd start off with is something that actually Jerry Oaksmith did. And hey, what's up, Kinetics? How's it going, bro? Nice to see everyone. We're gonna say what's up to the people in the chat in just a second here, but let me share the screen here, and we're gonna share a little video that Jerry Oaksmith took. And once again, this was completely by surprise. This was a Hex meetup that we did in the Washington State area, and then he had a cake that was made for all of us to celebrate, Cuatro Cinco subs, and it's only now that it's actually relevant that I can play it. So without further ado, let me just play this real quick here. 1 second here. Let's full screen this in just a second.
Hey!
Congratulations, 5,555 subs. Ballietbran. We have the sign there. 5,555 subs. What do you have to say to your followers and your subscribers?
Appreciate it, everyone, and it's a wild journey that's going to get way more wild. This cake is awesome, dude. That's a testament of how cool the community is.
Cool. Well, congratulations, bro.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that was a cake that Jerry Oaksmith had done. Once again, that was really cool. Let me take a look at the rest of the documents that we have, and we'll kind of just take a look in how I want to actually do this. So let me come over here. We're going to share the screen real quick. And once again, I've actually had this YouTube channel for quite a while. And then it wasn't until Hex had come out that I'd actually, first off, it wasn't until Hex had come out, but then it was, Discourse Syndicate with RG3, Dollar Cost Crypto, and Hexologist that had really made me want to join the stream, and then also, kind of just chit chat with the people in the community. So this is actually a Social Blade website, and then you can see 1 second here. Okay, yeah. So you can see that the creation date was March 1st, 2008. So I've had this channel for quite a while. And then when I actually go to my first Hex video that I did, I'll put that in here as well. We'll kind of go through this somewhat quickly, and then we'll get into the chat. This was the first Hex video that I had done. And then that was June 2nd, 2020 as well. So it's officially been over 2 years. And it was really cool because actually in this video here, I talk about, that I had like 70 subscribers. And, now we've got 5,500 in over 55. So that's really cool as well. So we've also got, special guests joining as well. Lit, my life is awesome. He says, let's effing go, Bran. We'll be there shortly. So cool, man. You have the link. I'm in the StreamYard. So yeah, we'll chit chat and kind of just hang out for a little bit. So let me go back up to the chat and let's just say what's up to everyone. And then we'll get into some of the things that I'd wanted to cover. So we got Steve D says, Bran's the man. Congrats, bro. You are a rock star. He says, proud to be a part of your celebrations. And that's the cool thing too about this community, about other things as well, is that it's so much easier to celebrate things, together as a team, as a unit, versus separately, and especially when it comes to this community. I know 5,555 is the max amount of days that you can actually stake for Hex. And it's really cool to see some of the other people that have really, they've taken a similar with myself and Hexologist and Discourse Syndicate. I wanted to start streaming. You see these other people that have started streaming as well, and they're absolutely kicking ass. They're absolutely doing really well. So it's cool to see the community itself is growing. And we've got people like Richard Hart doing like a Fox Business interview. I don't know if I'll actually cover that in this stream because it's like over 5 minutes long, but it is on my channel. I do have the clip of that. And then also actually Richard Hart did do a couple of Twitter spaces. So a couple of them were with some NFT guys, and he's got some pretty good information and kind of just talking points that other people haven't necessarily heard. And the thing that I'll say, as I kind of mentioned some of those Twitter spaces, is it's interesting that, with PulseChain itself, it's so early that once again, sometimes people think that they're late. Because like when Richard was talking about in the Twitter spaces on someone else's channel, he was talking about, hey, all of you guys and girls are going to get a copy of your NFTs on this other network. Over half the people in the actual spaces on the speakers list had no idea what he was talking about. And so obviously PulseChain's not out yet, but once it comes out and kind of just getting the awareness out, it's going to really explode. And I think it's really going to be that 1,000 flowers blooming that Richard's always talked about. We've got Jim Rat Crypto. He says, yo, congrats, bro. And then awesome, dude. Congrats to you as well. The 90-day challenge has been awesome. And yeah, it's really cool. Like my brother just messaged me today. He's lost over 100 pounds in less than 90 days. So it's really cool what you're doing. He says, you are an amazing, incredible human. We've got All Hex Working 67. Says, congratulations, Bran. We've got Diehard Hexican says, congrats. You deserve the recognition. Henry says, and then I also do have to shout out. So it's Jake Sharp, Crypto 7, and then what is it? Hex Token that had noticed that I was getting close to the Cuatro Cinco milestone mark, and they had pushed, they had asked some of their subscribers and followers to subscribe as well. So that was really cool. Once again, the community itself lifts everyone else up, which is super inspiring. Piston Bro Cuatro Cinco says, Ballietbran, you are a 555.55 carat duplicate, my friend. Well done, Bran. We got Debased Swag Unit. OMFE says, congrats, bro. We got Jameson, congratulations. And then Maddie Crypto. Once again, this stream, we'll kind of cover some things that I'd wanted to cover. But, I go back and watch all my old videos or some of the content that I've been in as well. And for the actual Hex conference itself that Maddie had hosted, which was, March 6th through the 9th, so 369. Matty Crypto, him, myself, Black Crypto, Black HEXICAN, and a couple of other people, we were all on like a little panel together. And what I'm trying to say is Matty Crypto had said to the people in the audience is he had said, hey, does anyone in the audience not have a 5,555 day stake? And there was maybe like one or two people, and then, he had said like, hey, contact me. And, he would personally get them started with one. So once again, I just thought that was really cool. And, a lot of the generosity comes from the top as well, the leadership, right? If you have poor leadership, then you're going to have kind of poor results as well. But I think we have quite the opposite, which is a leader, a founder, a successful business person, and he's just transferring a lot of those skills to crypto and just really dominating as well. Monica Mofit Meal says, hello, Ballietbran. We've got You Deserve It All, my friend. Once again, this is my brother saying, congratulations, bro. Such a cool milestone. Seems like yesterday we were talking about you starting your streams. Awesome job, brother. Yeah, and the other thing too, for anyone that's like ever been a part of making videos or even in the Hex community, is it's crazy how quick the time goes. Like the time flies, and it just feels like it doesn't feel like it's been over 2 years of streaming. So that's really when you're doing something that's the right way. We got the Crypto Wonder podcast. We got Finbear. I'll let the ads roll for Brandon. This is awesome. We've got Matt S. Let's see. Coffee and cake in the back. Help yourselves. Exactly. We're going to get to everyone in the chat today. And once again, we're going to get into some other stuff as well. So Scott, nice to see you, Scott. Pulse Bezos. That's a cool name. Let's see here. That's a sweet looking cake. Well deserved. Yeah, that was really cool. Hex Jeweler as well says, congrats, bro. And yeah, this is one of the things that I did want to share as well. So I guess we'll just do it now. Let me stop the screen share and we'll start it again. So Hex Jeweler, once again, another HEXICAN in the community. He's actually got a website, and he does jewelry that he's been doing for a little while now. And I told him I would share the website. So give me just a second here. Let me scroll up real quick. There it is. Okay. We're not going to share the audio. Okay. So before I get into the actual website itself, and I will link that in the description. This is something that Hex Jeweler had hooked me up with. So you can see, so that says PulseX, and it's like a little leather, bracelet or a wristband type of deal. And then it's got like a clasp right here as well that you kind of, just push, and it's kind of like a puzzle. You just push it, and that's the way that it locks and clasps. But here is their website. And once again, I was talking to him a little bit before the actual stream itself, and to let him know that, hey, the website's up. We're going to share the website, and then he's also got more stuff on the way as well. And once again, I'd rather have so many options and things to choose from and to be able to support than not enough. Because for those that have also been there, since early and since the beginning, in the very beginning of Hex, we had to like print our own t-shirts. And, Richard had always said like, hey, don't be doing this because it's violating, the copyright logo and stuff. And now we've got, hexmerch.com. We've got so many other websites that, that have the shirts and now jewelry too. So let's just take a look real quick here. So once again, this is the one that I had got. It's the PulseX leather bracelet with diamonds. Yeah, there's two studded diamonds there as well. And then once again, you can just click view collection. Let's see here. Yep. So yeah, you can just click view collection and then just scroll down and see some of their work, So once again, it's pretty cool to see. So just wanted to share this website. I will be linking this in the description as well. It's hexjewels.com. So I'll link that in the description after the actual stream itself. But that is something that I had wanted to get to. Okay. So yeah, thank you again, Hex Jeweler. That was really, really cool of you. Let's see what else we got here. We got Rocket Mob says, congrats on the Quattro Cinco. Hex McKenzie, woohoo, congrats. We've got ReadMac77, way to go, Bran. Let's see. My pleasure to be one of them. Congrats. And Jimmy Diamond says, congrats, Bran. Good to see you. Keep kicking ass. All Hex Working 67 says, I love that you are always realistic. You don't get wrapped in the hype. Always useful and good info. Thank you. Amazing. 100 pounds is no small feat. Yeah, it's true, and it's super inspiring for myself and for I think the rest of my family and just even the other Hexicans too. Yeah, him losing 100 pounds is a big freaking deal, and I think he's going to be starting a YouTube channel too on kind of some of his journey, which is really cool because if you've had success in an area, it's just like with Richard. He could have he retired and he screwed off for a little while, but then he got to the point where he's like, okay, the things that I'm doing don't feel productive. They're kind of getting boring. So, that's the point where you start giving back or finding other avenues to spend your time with. So Magnus says, evening Bran. We've got a Synthwave Symphony. That's a cool name. Yeah, Metallic Elmo. He was also Evo. Nice to see you. Metallic Elmo was also one of the people in the Hex conference as well. So that was cool to see him in person. He says, hey, Bran, congrats on the 5,555 subs. And thanks for that panel that we were on in Vegas last March at the conference. You did a great job. And then we've got, once again, we've got Bran Hammer, Howdy Gang. Let's see, Bran Hammer, Jim Rat. Cool. So let's see, RH Max, once again. Check Twitter, DM lit. Okay, cool. Let me, we'll get into some of the chat in just a second. I don't want to spend the whole stream covering over the chat. Let me just look over here at some of the things that I'd wanted to cover, and we'll take a look here too. Okay, let's see. We'll go to this one as well. So once again, this is kind of going to be a stream. Some of the stuff is going to be covering some important stuff that had come out. Like Richard had actually mentioned, it was either one of the Twitter Spaces or somewhere else on stream. Maybe it was the one with like Miss Teen Crypto, but he had mentioned, where we're at in the Hex price right now is, he doesn't mind telling his friends that had missed the launch of Hex. He doesn't mind telling them that this is a good price to be accumulating. So we can just take a look real quick at the actual price itself. We're at 3.969. And once again, when Richard's telling his friends that, hey, now is a good time, 95% to be averaging in, then then that's just kind of something that's cool to hear as well from the founder himself. So this is just the Uniswap V2 chart, and then we can always go for the actual time frame itself. We can also go to the weekly chart on just Uniswap version 1 that has all of the time frame and it's got all of the data. And once again, you can just see, a lot of people they say like, yeah, it's so easy if you got in early. And, it's just like that way with anything where there's going to be cycles, as Richard has mentioned with himself getting into Bitcoin at the $30 top, right? It went from $30 to $2. Most people get in, during this kind of hype cycle, and then as we can see right now, we've been consolidating for for about 5 weeks where we're at right now. Who knows? Could go lower, could go higher. But the point is if you kind of just take some of these, these strategies that have been long-term and that have been working and investing for quite a while, whether it's dollar cost averaging or Wendy's for Tendies talks about dynamic averaging, then you can really kind of, not be kicking yourself in the foot. If you did get in at the top, you can really, look at some of these strategies, look at what it's done in the past. You can kind of see right here as well, May 4th, 2020, we kind of went sideways for a little while. If we just hold down shift, we went sideways, roughly, chopping up and down for almost 224 days before really seeing, this, that was big payday, before really seeing, a 27,470, 73% gain. So that patience definitely is rewarded. And once again, I thought that was pretty cool that Richard was kind of confirming that he's telling some of his friends, hey, you missed getting in at the very beginning. Well, hey, you can get in at, a 95% drop. We got a Hex Monkey, and then hey, RH Max, good to see you. Hex Monkey says, congrats on your ongoing stream and growing audience. Keep doing what you do. Thank you. Going to be fire. Let's see, DJ Nom Nom from Twitch. Nice to see you. That cake tasted fantastic too. Let's see. Uh, user, if you and once again, if people got comments in the chat and questions in the chat, we're gonna go in order, subsequently. So please, if you have any questions or things that you want me to talk about, we will cover them, and sometime in the stream, Lit will be joining as well, and we'll kind of just play the stream by ear. So user 1234 says, what do you think about Richard's conversation with Maddie Allen yesterday? And so once again, I would just ask for you to clarify, because I mean, there was at least like 2 hours of his conversation. So that actually goes to, since he brought up the question, that actually goes up to one of the points that I'd wanted to make. So Maddie did a 3-day PulseChain conference, and it was kicking off the 1-year anniversary of when the actual sacrifice itself for PulseChain started. So let me share the screen. We're going to go to howtopulse.com, and we're going to just take a look here. Once again, we're going to take a look at some of the data. And this website's actually really good at kind of just giving you some information that you need. I mean, it's got PulseX, it's got wallets, it's got, some of these other things, right? How we're going to grow the network and how you can, market to other people that haven't heard about this. And then you've got Hex, PulseChain, some of these other things as well. But we're going to scroll down here, and we're just going to zoom in once again, because, as I mentioned, I mean, time flies when you're having fun, and and when you don't have any other options, right? Because the sacrifice is the sacrifice. So it says, when did the sacrifice stage start? It says the sacrifice stage lasted 19 days. It started on July 15th, 2021 at 4:50 UTC, and ended August 3rd, 2021 at 4:50 UTC. So just wanted to let everyone know it's officially been 1 year. And how cool is that? I mean, obviously, as far as forking the entire Ethereum network and system state, and changing it from proof of work to proof of stake, all these other things, obviously that's a big task and a big accomplishment to be doing. And so just like we've seen with Hex, maybe it was like 14 months or something like that it was 4 more weeks, delayed 4 more weeks. When's Hex coming out? 4 more weeks, etc. And we're past the year mark for PulseChain. So it's kind of similar in time frame, but once again, the things that we do know is that the patience is always rewarded, and it's really going to be exciting to see the network itself live. Because Richard mentions, hey, he could launch the network right now, and it's also kind of like a perfection thing too, where the testnet itself has been running, I mean, nearly flawlessly for the past 6 months. But what he doesn't want to do is and Hex Monkey, whoops, I saw his comment right there. Can I still sacrifice for Pulse? What Richard doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to launch it because it's like 99% done, and then have some of these attack vectors actually, get deployed and actually, kind of halt some of the network. Okay, so let me scroll back up here, and we'll take a look at where we were going to go. So Randy with an I says, congrats, Bran. Balliet Bull Rush says, hey, all. Let's see. Can't wait to link up with you on stream, bro. Let's see. RH Max says, Quattro Cinco on your way to 55,555. Awesome. And then Hex Monkey as well. He says he donated $55.55. Thank you, man. Says, congrats on your ongoing stream and growing your audience. Keep doing what you do. Okay, sorry. I think I actually already covered that part. So let me scroll down a little bit and just see what I haven't covered. So Agenda 69. Let's see, Hexographer. And then RH Max. Hey, thank you, bro. We got Brazology in the house. Says, what's up, Bran? Sandy Beach. And that's where we're going to pause it for right this second. So once again, to the other person's comment and to their question, what do I think of Richard's stream yesterday? I thought it was actually really cool, right? So I'll be honest, I didn't see all of it, but I know that there was like a couple of kids, and there was like different varying levels of explanations that Richard was doing, from can you explain Hex, Pulse, and PulseX to a kid? I think like a junior high kid or something like that, which was really cool to see on stream. And then can you explain it to a level 5 advanced someone that would be, a security expert or things like this. So Richard was on yesterday for day 3 for about like 2.5 hours. So that was really cool to see. So yeah, this is another thing that I'd wanted to share that, once again, for those that haven't been here, for everything, this was kind of like a fun moment in history that I just wanted to share that I thought was pretty cool. So this was February 13th, 2021, and this is Motley Investor's channel. So go give him a subscribe. Hexmerch.com. You can use Brandhammer10 to get 10% off any gear. But this was, this is kind of like a tribute and a testament to the community itself, right? We've got the Packy one chip challenge and then world record ? So not only do HEXICANs, hold 3 dips together, do they, people like Hexologist streaming every single day, but then also fun things that are not even, crypto related or anything like that, but that are more community centric and once again, kind of just fun. So this was the one chip challenge, and we're just going to play just a couple of seconds of it here.
All right. You guys ready? 1,
Ready as I'll ever be.
2, 3, salute.
So we're not going to watch the whole video, but once again, it was just kind of like a funny side note. As last night, I was kind of going through some of the things that I wanted to talk about as far as the channel goes. That was definitely one of them because, once again, the, people like Motley Investor, he had an opportunity with, I think it was Ricky that had mentioned the Hex NASCAR, right? Hey, we can get this spot in NASCAR. We just need, X amount of funds. And then you see this, crowdfunding event that happened in, I think it was like 4 or 5 days, nearly $500,000 that, that created the Hex NASCAR and some of these other things. So it's really cool to see. And once again, every day is just so unique. Hex Monkey says, that's why I love this community so much. All the fun shenanigans unrelated to crypto content. LOL. Yeah, it's totally true, man. It's, and you can only talk about crypto for so long, there's only so much to talk about before you've literally covered everything. And before, you're kind of just covering some of the stuff that's already been covered before. Inviting Freedom says, that's amazing, BB. This guy is the real deal. The only HEXICAN I'd trust with my seed phrase. LOL, true story though. Love your soul, BB. You're an incredibly young man. Love you. Awesome. Hey, that was really cool. I love you too. That was super cool. Got Nom Nom. Good to see you, HEXICANs. Congrats, a steady voice in Hexico. And then, yeah, hey, speaking of steady voice in Hexico, Hexologist, he's streaming every single day now again for 555 days. So I wanted to share that because once again, that's a really big deal. And him and RG3 that had started Discourse Syndicate, they were the first reason that I felt comfortable to even join and to start streaming with them. Because before I was just kind of hiding under anonymous accounts and not necessarily, the whole point of crypto was like, hey, take your privacy seriously, and what happens if you get a rent attack and some of these other things. And so that was always kind of my motto since Hex had came out. And then it wasn't until RG3 and Hexo that I was like, okay, this is something different that I want to participate in. Okay, so this is an announcement that a Hexologist had done on July 4th, 2022. So about 13 days ago, almost 2 weeks ago. He says, as I announced on my stream today, I will be streaming for the next 555 days straight at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. Seattle time. After the 555 days are over, I will be deleting all my social media, including Twitter. Hope to see you there. And then Hex, PulseChain, PulseX. So that's really cool. Jim Rat Crypto says Hexo paved the way. He definitely did. And once again, it's cool to see him back at it. And I love it because he streamed previously for 572 days in a row. And now he's going to be streaming for 555 days in a row. So I thought that was pretty cool and definitely worthy of mentioning. There was a handful of people that were saying, oh my God, this is the saddest day ever and things like that. And I thought that was kind of funny because, you still have Hexo for the next, 500 plus days. So it's not time to be sad yet. You've got literally almost like a year and a half, right, of daily streaming that he's going to be doing before one should get sad, So that's just something that I'd wanted to say as well. Okay, so yeah, let's take another look here at some of these other things that I wanted to cover, and then let's see, hexmerch.com, and then yeah, we'll chit chat with Lit for a little bit, and then we'll let everyone go on their merry way and hang out for the rest of the day, night, or evening. But let's make sure we are sharing the screen here. Okay, yep, Hexo paved the way. We're gonna uncheck that box real quick. Okay, so once again, this is hexmerch.com. There's crypto wares. I think it's .xyz is the other one. There's Etsy. You can go to Etsy.com. You can go to Amazon.com. You can go to Redbubble, I think .com, and you can just type in like Hex shirt or Hex shorts or things like that. And the point is now there's a whole bunch of places where you can buy some of the Hex merch and you can rep it anywhere you go. Before streaming and before crypto, I used to just wear like plain colored t-shirts, whether it was black or green or blue. And then now it's really cool to be able to actually represent something that I care about, a logo that I care about. So it's fun. This one's like a it says HEXICAN, and then it's got Quattro Cinco down here at the bottom as well. So that's kind of like a little hex flag. And once again, they got a whole bunch of different designs. We can actually just take a look here. If you just do, say if you just do t-shirts, this is just for men's t-shirts, but you can just scroll down and you can see that I've actually gotten a couple of these ones as well. These ones are really cool. PulseChain event short sleeve tee. They got another one that's in like the hex colors as well. And the cool thing about this one too is, as someone that once again has been here early, I have made some of my own hex gear as well. I couldn't make such a shirt like this that I'm sharing on the screen for that price. So that was really cool that this has text on the back, and once again it looks really good. When I'm working out and at the gym, I usually wear these ones because when I'm on the treadmill, the people behind me, they can see as they're coming into the gym, hey, what the heck's PulseChain.com or what the heck is Hex.com. So that's really cool as well. And then while we're sharing this, we're going to share another link as well. Let me come over here real quick. Give me 1 second. We're going to share a new book. And so A-Bit Hex Allen, he had actually helped kind of write the intro, or he had helped write some of the information in this book as well. But let me come over here to Matt's Twitter. Give me 1 second here. Let's scroll down just a smidge. And give me 1 second. Sorry, I'm not prepared. Let's share the screen. Okay. So this is a Phenom investor. His name is actually Matt Garabidian, but he wrote a book about Hex. And once again, it's not all about Hex. Some of it's kind of about investing and some of these other things. But I wanted to just show it off and share it real quick for those that haven't heard about it. So this is his Twitter once again. Let me just zoom in real quick here. So he says, blockchain sniper, crypto maxi, freedom. We've got free thinker. He's a best-selling author. And then he says, grab my free book on crypto below. And then his website is hexphenom, like phenomenal, hexphenom.com. And then he's also been in the game for a minute too. He's joined October, 2014. So we're actually going to share his website. Give me 1 minute here. Let's do Rotary Girder. Okay, so this is his website, hexphenom.com. And then it's saying, it's kind of just saying, hey, he'll give you this book for free if you pay for the shipping. The shipping is like $6, something like that. You can also actually go to Amazon and buy, I think I bought the online version for like a couple of bucks maybe. So if you want to just read the content and you don't want the actual book itself, Amazon's got like an Amazon Kindle link, and I can try and actually find that real quick too, just so anyone can purchase it on Amazon I know most people have Amazon accounts these days. So let me just type in the Hex phenomenon, and we'll share it on Amazon real quick too. Okay, so once again, this is the website hexphenom.com, and then Matt has like a little intro, 2-minute and 21-second video, and then looks like that is him and his family. So that's really cool. I'm gonna actually share the link right now where y'all can get it on Amazon too. So let me just put this in the YouTube chat, because otherwise, if I do share the screen, it will dox me. So we're not going to dox the good old account. But there is the Amazon.com link. Once again, that's for the actual book itself. Okay. Oh, hey, we got Lit in the background. Yo, what's up, dude? Hey, do you want to give me a little thumbs up? Give me a thumbs up if you're okay. A little head nod. Give me a thumbs up so I know you can hear me. Okay, cool. Dope. Okay, cool. All right. Well, oh, and I didn't even see he was in the private chat too. All right, cool. Well, without further ado, I've never streamed with Lit, but I've chit-chatted with him a couple of times. So yeah, let's bring him on stream and kind of just see what's up.
Yeah. What's up, bro? What's happening?
Not much, man. You know, just enjoying the Sunday, and you know, like I don't like to break the schedule of streaming, you know, once a week and things like that. And so yeah, last week had streamed with Glenn Carlson, and then this week's stream was like, okay, you know, hey, let's do the Quattro Cinco celebration stream. So not much, man. I mean, you know, like I mentioned, covering some of the stuff that the other Hexicans have done. You know, like the cool thing about taking like a little break from you know the videos or some of this other stuff is that there's always someone there to kind of you know fill in the place. And anyways, we've got books coming out all the time, you know, two books and some of these other things. But how are you, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm so stoked for you. Like when I started my channel, there wasn't very many streamers, and I just know, like, you know, I literally was the first PulseChain channel, so I was the new kid on the block, and there was all Hexicans. They were all linked up. They'd all been through a lot together, and then I showed up and was kind of like this outside force looking in, and it took a while to kind of like feel fully comfortable. Even though the first video I did, I got tons of support. The community open-armed, like, gave me good energy. I still felt like I didn't really have a solid ground with it, with all the content creators. And people, like, from the outside in, people would bring up your name and everyone would be freaking out. Oh my God, I love Bran. He's so real. He's so rad. And as I've gotten to know you, dude, I could just echo that through the chamber. You're always authentic. You're always real. You're always simple, to the point, and you're chill. And that is why after this big long hiatus I took, you're the first person I called. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, we talked for over an hour, and I just chatted with you and just gave you like the whole rundown of what was happening. But it's because you know, real recognize real. And I think people feel that on the channel, and you do a great thing. And I don't know, like, does everyone know how long you've been in this community? You've been here before there was even a Hex.
It's true. You know, it's interesting, you know, because sometimes people they'll ask, and like the first thing was with the Telegram, because the Telegram was out, but obviously Hex wasn't launched yet. And then, you know, I remember kind of just, I mean, I'd followed Richard for such a long time, and I didn't realize that there was a whole community until joining, you know, the Telegram, and then, you know, meeting up with people like RG3 in person and some of these other people in person pretty early on before Big Payday. It was like, wow, man, this is legit. You know, this is actually real. It's not just, you know, fake that some people might think that you get with the internet. And you know, same thing with yourself too. I mean, that's kind of, you know, the way that you judge someone, or the way that I've always kind of thought about it, is like, what do the people say when you're not there? You know, are they shit talking you behind your back, or are they, you know, saying the same thing that they say to your face, you know, behind your back when you're not there as well? So I appreciate that, man. I was actually just going to share your screen as well, or share the screen on your channel, because I mean, you've had a YouTube channel for a little while too. and it looks like it's damn near been a year. Like this is it's been a little bit over a year. I see a couple of these were some stocks and Bitcoin mining things, but it looks like this one may have been the first one that you'd done on PulseChain, and you got the PulseChain and Hex van there, and it's cool. I mean, how has it been for you? Because like you mentioned, sometimes it can definitely be overwhelming. Whoops, sorry about that. It can definitely be overwhelming, but with the community and things like this, like, have you ever been a part of anything that was like this?
So in general, like in my life, I end up coagulating with good people who get fired up and they love my energy, because when I do something, I really do it wholeheartedly. Like, I just recently started skimboarding after Mama
nice.
Awesome passed. I realized, dude, I need to pick up another hobby that's seriously hard and has a rush. So I ended up doing skimboarding, and I'm a new guy in the community, and there's people skimming for 8, 10, 20 years, and they're really tight knit. And when you get on the line at the water, and you have to like go in front of everyone, like there's pros that I'm going in front of, and I'm new, only a couple months at it. And the kind of energy that I put out was just like, I don't know. I just looked them straight in the face and was like, hey, I've been skimming 2 months. When do I go? I don't even know when to go. And they're like, oh, what? You've only been here doing 2 months? All right. And then they'll start teaching me. And then they start broing down. And before you know it, you see them and they're like, hey, what up, Lit? And they're all stoked to see me. And I'm stoked to see them. And these are like awesome pros. So I've kind of had a similar reactions with almost whatever I did. But I think it just comes down to like the compliment that I gave you. Like, you're calm, you're real, and you're a truth seeker. And I feel like I'm a truth seeker too. And I think we have that in common in the HEXICAN community. And
Totally.
you've been here a long time, so correct me if I'm wrong. But a lot of the subscribers, a lot of the HEXICAN family that we have in this community, they are truth seekers. They're trying to find what is real in this crypto game. And there's over 13,000 crypto projects and products. So you have to put on your science cap. You have to be able to use your logic and discern what's crap and what's not. And we've kind of all coalesced here in this tight-knit community. But I feel like it's because we're truth seekers and we want to actually create a solid future for each other. So it's been really easy to connect with HEXICANs because we're all on that truth-seeking path. Have you found that?
Oh, totally. And it's funny that you bring that up, because when you had mentioned truth seekers and things like that, because once again, I mean, the first stream I had done, it was like a couple of days before I joined the F and Hangout. So that was June 5th, 2020. And then the first stream that I technically did was June 2nd. So it's kind of just watching in the background. And I'm like, man, I really relate with these guys. And it's so interesting too. And I can totally understand what some of these other people are saying with the meetups, where it's like, you see myself online or yourself, like we've never met in person, but, and then sometimes people, they ask themselves like, man, is this, this person seems so genuine and so legit. Like, are they the same person in person as they portray online? And like, for me, every experience has been that way. But when you mention like, kind of a truther, or just like in search for knowledge and things like that, it kind of reminded me of back when Hex actually first launched. So December 2nd, 2019, I'm pretty sure it was that same day that Richard went on live stream with Tone Vase. So he went on live stream with Tone Vase and then 3 other lawyers, and they were trying to entrap him to say that he was the OA, or that it was the security for whatever reason, profits and expectation from the work of others. And Richard had stayed up because, for the actual launch itself, sure, it launched December 2nd, but he was up for like, 48 hours or something like that. He had said he was kind of like shaking, from sleep deprivation. But anyways, I said all that to say that it almost drove me damn crazy, man. Cause I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, I've been following Richard for a long time. I'm listening and I'm comprehending with what he's saying, but then everyone's calling it a scam. Everyone's saying that this is a Ponzi, that he's done this before, that he's going to do it again. And I'm so glad that there's this thing in life called discernment. Like you have to learn that whether you're watching someone on YouTube and you're making, financial decisions based off of what they're telling you, at the end of the day, it really is the person that's clicking the button that's responsible. And so I'm really glad that I didn't get fudded out, man, because like literally it felt, the definition of insanity is like doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And I just kept wondering, like, okay, man, like, Richard, he's been legit since I had followed him in early 2017, but I won't lie, like some of the times I kind of did question myself.
Well, you were so early that you were there for, like, when you're skimming, you have to watch the waves, and sometimes big waves will come up and crash on the ocean, and you kind of want to be there at a high tide to try to get the most speed you can on top of the wave. And sometimes these massive waves come at you. You're like the dude who's been on the beach the earliest. You've been here so early. You're a true Hex OG. You have a staker class mentality. And you've been there to see some of these big waves wash up on shore. And you've had to ask yourself, do I jam up on the rocks for safety or do I just stay put? And what was that like in the earliest days before any of this stuff was real? Like you got to have some King Kong nuts to be able to stay on that beach when the waves are crashing in and it doesn't look good. What was it like?
King Kong is correct. King Kong is correct. It's so interesting, man, because like, once again, I mean, you can go to the Hex price chart and like the first day itself, so many people, myself included, did FOMO into, like, relative to the rest of my ETH stack, FOMO'd into the adoption amplifier. And the point that I'm trying to say is, there's so much anticipation built up. And then after everyone kind of blew their load on day one, the price itself dropped like 90%, something like that. Like it wasn't until a couple weeks later that we were on Uniswap that there was, a good place to actually be trading it. And then some people were kind of arbitraging it. But, to answer your question, it's really been interesting to look back and think back, not only like before Hex was launched and when Richard was talking about it, like he was talking about the idea, but also, so there used to be a guy, Good Texture, that was in the Hex community, and he would join on the F and Hangout streams. And, like you kind of mentioned with the waves or some people that had been there longer than others, I've learned in life, not only just with the Hex community or other things, but some people, they come and they go, and then they'll come back, the next market cycle, or they'll come back a year and a half later. And, and then there's the others like that you had mentioned, like, RG3 and Hexo, they're Marines, there's actually a lot of Marines in the community and military people. And they're just troopers, in the literal sense, and kind of just in the sense that they're like, hey man, win or lose, we're putting up the fight. So it's been really cool to see everything evolve, because the reason I brought up the AA stuff in the beginning, the adoption amplifier, is nowadays, based on the staking and the percentage of people that are staked, the payout per T-share is actually really great, because it used to be, Hexo actually covered this the other day, but it used to be less than 1 hex per T-share that was getting paid out, and now it's been consistently like over 5. So it's been really cool to see, like, once again, just slow and steady wins the race, and it wasn't until Hex started doing this hockey stick that, all of a sudden the people that didn't last through the FUD, they're saying that everyone got lucky and things like this. And it's like, no, man, we just been here since the beginning, and, we got lucky because we just stayed through the whole fight, and the price happened to just skyrocket,
What you brought up a couple awesome points I want to try to cover, but what was it that gave you the power to stand on that beach when the waves are crashing in and you're thinking, dude, am I going to get smashed on the rocks? Everyone's calling it a scam. Everyone's undermining Richard Hart. There's all these people from all these angles that are literally undermining the beach you're standing on. What was it that gave you the fortitude to be able to sit through it? Like, what was the thought you had that was like, I'm going to hodl?
You know, once again, with some of the questioning of like literally my own sanity, I was like, okay, I've always kind of considered myself like a good judge, you know, a good judgment and a good judger, I guess, of character, you know, of other people's character. And kind of just like, you know, kind of like that fight or flight instinct of like, wait, is this person lying to me and trying to take advantage, or are they actually telling me the truth and legitimate, you know, stay calm. So anyways, as far as like through the thick and through the thin, you know, I mean, the first videos that I had seen of Richard in early 2017 were his self-help videos, because what had happened is people were saying, okay, you know,
Nice.
this guy's a spam king, you know, this guy's got like a nefarious past. And so that was on a Reddit forum that was like, it was either Bitcoin or Litecoin Reddit forum that I was first in, and that they had mentioned Richard Hart. And I go, you know, Google Richard Hart, find him on YouTube. His first videos are on self-help. And then I just start watching all of his videos and all of his content. And then same thing, I didn't actually start streaming about it until, you know, 6 months later, 7 months later, actually, you know, feeling confident enough to dox the security and things like that. But as far as what kind of kept me through thick and thin was just, you know, my own perception of, hey, you know, Richard's always been genuine from the very beginning. And like, and also what freaking scammer is going to sit in their throne for 6 hours. I mean, some of his streams were over 8 hours long, you know, because I've seen them twice, where he's answering every question. Like, you know, generally with scammy behavior or Ponzi behavior or these other things, you see, you know, you just see them kind of slowly pulling the rug or quickly separating themselves from it. But Richard didn't do that, and he hasn't done that. And, you know, every single day, like as far as Hex goes specifically, once again, if it wasn't for Dev Kyle, Hex might have just been a failed project.
Wow.
Because Dev Kyle himself, he was the first one that discovered the share rate itself, that it wasn't mimicking the compounding interest, that with the way that the share rate itself before Dev Kyle had come up with the way that the share rate is currently that mimics the compounding interest, the shorter stakes would actually outdo the longer stakes, because you could do like a year-long stake or however short of a length stake, and then you could just keep, you know, compounding it over smaller stakes, and then those would outdo, you know, the Cuatro Cinco stake. So it wasn't until Dev Kyle had come on scene, and he wasn't even like a crypto developer. You know, Richard mentions that, like, you know, the places that you get these insane developers aren't in crypto, they're in, you know, traditional spaces and stuff like this.
Awesome.
But it's crazy. Like, you know, Thothschild talks about like serendipitous, you know, synchronicities and things like this. And it's like, man, it's so cool the way that things have lined up and worked out, because, you know, there could have been, you know, failures, you know, multiple times in the game itself or in the development, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, so when you're here as early as you've been, like, what is your opinion? And you don't have to be right, just your opinion is cool. But when Hex launched, there was a lot of buy-in. And I know a lot of Hex OGs who went hard and heavy on day one. I think Briz is in the chat, and I think Briz was there day one, and a lot of other people. What do you think caused the price to shoot up? And then what do you think the apex was when it tanked, in your opinion? Do you think there was like massive sell-off from whales, or what do you think actually happened to cause Hex to skyrocket up and then tank down for that dip, where a couple really lucky Hexicans got in at that dip? But what do you think caused that first initial dip in Hex?
Well, you know, it's a good question, because, like, honestly, the more that I understand, because I've said this a million times, like, I'm not a, you know, TA technical analysis guy, but in hindsight, like, as far as the top and things like this, or as far as the first one goes, you know, the thing that I know, at least myself, that I am good at is like the sentiment. And so to your point, when a whole bunch of people are, so the point is the reason that we kind of had the peak and things like this is, I mean, Hex was, you know, delayed for a little bit over a year. It was like 14 months, or I don't know the exact time that it was actually delayed, you know. But then, so because Richard had been kind of building it up, hyping it up, things like this. And then so once it was finally available, you know, you would just interact with like it was go.hex.win at the time. And you can still go there, and it links to go.hex.com. But anyways, the point is that, you know, people, they were so anxious, because the way that it worked was, I think it was So I think the first day there was like 1 billion tokens that was distributed equally amongst the Ethereum that was raised in that adoption amplifier. And then subsequently every day after was 500 million hex. And so, day 33, we all know January 5th was the lowest. But what happened is there was over like 21,000 Ethereum. I remember it being on day one that people had kind of FOMO'd in. And so I'm guessing that just, a lot of people, like same thing with myself. I didn't expect to put more than like a couple of Ethereum the first day. And then as I see everyone else kind of putting in a whole bunch, you kind of just get like that fear of missing out. It's like, it really is emotionally driven. And then as far as the sell-offs and things like that go, like it's kind of like with the most recent dip that we've had currently, 95% into a dip. And it wasn't until I had the stream with Toby1 Hexobi, and once again, he's a great guy as well. But it wasn't until I streamed with him that he was saying like, yeah, in hindsight, of course, the 10,000x was like where you were going to have the dip be, or where the top was going to be, because Richard had been talking about it being designed to do a 10,000x in under 2.5 years, since inception. And so it kind of makes sense with some of these things where it's like, some people do take profit, some people don't take profit, but really at the end of the day, no one is ever going to perfectly be able to time, the tops and the bottoms. And that's where you kind of just have to come up with a strategy. Otherwise you can miss out.
And you stayed strong throughout those dips. Were you staked at that point, or were you all liquid?
Yeah.
Like the first initial dip, the first few weeks in.
Yeah, I was. So I remember my first stake being like, it might have even been like as short as it was either a day or it was a week long, because same thing, I'm telling myself like, this is a unique concept, like, because before in crypto, I mean, I was in, Bitcoin and Litecoin somewhat early, Bitcoin sub 1,000 and Litecoin, sub 33 and stuff like this. But none of them really had, staking and some of these other things. So when Richard had first, when he had said, hey, the adoption amplifier is open and things, I had my bag of hex after I kind of learned how to transform it, because the beautiful thing about what he did is that everything like there's no central entity or no company or things like that was controlling, behind the scenes. Or like if you were actually minting your own hex and you were putting money into the adoption amplifier, you had to be the one that went to the transform tab and you had to click like, I don't even know, like once you actually put the money in, the Ethereum in, you had to go to the transform tab and then click another button that would actually get you your hex. Some people's hex was still stuck in the transform tab because they never actually clicked the button. But anyways, yeah, as far as all of it goes, man, it's been one hell of a journey. And, people like yourself, people like Gerardo, just so many others. I mean, Maddie's been an absolute amazing contributor as well. There's just been so many people in the community that have just, really shown me that this was the right decision, and I'm so glad that I stayed into crypto, man. Cause like so having gotten in early 2017, things like this, buying low, not selling high, you see these gains on paper and it's like, holy shit, dude, I'm seeing this amount of money for the first time ever. And then the same thing, you see the price go down 80%, 90%. And then it wasn't until, Hex that I kind of just made it easier to sit through the dips, because I was staked and I was earning more each day.
It's a really great, like the staking feature in Hex. I think we have to take a step back and really like recognize how awesome it is, because a lot of people that I've onboarded were in the 40 and even 50 cent range. Like I was pumping out this fire content the whole way up for PulseChain and getting people into Hex. And as they got onboarded, there were high ranges. And some of those people are feeling kind of burnt. They're like, dude, I got in at 44 cents. Like, what's going on? I'm having all these losses. And if you take into account, I was talking to Identity Block about this. If you take into account staking, if you're staked and there's a 95% dip, you have to understand, because that staking feature is locking up your hex and producing rewards where it's minting you fresh hex, you're not tanking that hard. You're mitigating the tanking curve, and you're actually protecting your original investment by being staked. so much more so than liquid. If you're liquid, you're just riding it down. But what goes down must come up. What comes up must go down when you're in a good product. And we're in a good product. So we're tanking right now, but we're going to come back. And the staking feature is a really great preservation of capital. Do you agree, being a staker?
Totally. I mean, you know, because otherwise, what really does separate Hex from some of these other cryptos? And Richard talks about the security, which I completely agree with. You know, the security is a huge. Unfortunately, in the industry, it's so overlooked because people are so, you know, worried about the number go up and price go up that they fail to realize, you know, Bitcoin had so it had two inflation bugs. One of them got realized, and then the other one didn't. You know, the developer Bcash developer spoke up before it could have been implemented and before it could have been realized. But yeah, as far as the actual value proposition goes, the staking definitely is where it's at. And you know, the thing that I was going to say too, that I had in some of the notes that Richard's mentioned, I'm going to make a clip about this because it's actually kind of important for us as like a community to kind of have a consensus, is that, you know, there's a consensus that, like, and Richard talks about this too. He mentioned this in the Twitter spaces, that sometimes when you use averages, the numbers can kind of be skewed and outweighed because, you know, as far as the staking goes, the people that got in pre-big payday, you know, just got so much more. Or from like a share rate perspective, you know, that was before the share rate freaking skyrocketed. And so the point is, you know, instead of advertising like a 38% average APY, I think Richard had mentioned, you know, maybe now it's like 32 or 33, something like that. It's a little bit lower when you actually look at the people that are getting in from a new standpoint versus the average. So I think things like that can kind of be important, at least to know when you're telling someone and you're onboarding someone into the product, because that way it doesn't seem misleading, and that way it doesn't seem kind of like, oh wait, I was told by XYZ random person or by postcard that it was going to be 38, and you know, and I get 30 or 25 or whatever. But as far as that goes, yeah, the staking is definitely where it's at. And you know, once again, that's the other incredible thing, man, is things like Staker app have shown. At first, it used to be Hex.live that Steph had created, which was like a website that was very similar to Staker app. It had, you know, the animals and things like that in the ranks. And then as far as the Staker app goes, that's when I really started to notice personally that the average staking length went from, you know, it used to be under a year. It went from like 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. And now I looked at it earlier before the stream. It was like 6 point something years, you know? So it's been cool to see that, you know, your question is, hey, is some of the staking part of the value proposition, or some of the reason why this separates it from some of the other cryptos? And it definitely is. I mean, if you look at the Bitcoin miners, once again, you know, not only the inflation bug that could have been very detrimental for Bitcoin, but as far as the mining aspect itself goes, that's not only a negative externality, but that's, you know, more money that they've got to sink in if they want to earn, you know, a few shekels in Bitcoin and back.
Yeah. So I think, what is there? There's like 60 people here. This is probably one of the most important topics currently right now, because we're in this PulseChain Hex game. We're waiting on PulseChain level 1. We're waiting on PulseX. It's kind of like, I kind of describe it like we had the venue set, the party was planned, the flyers were out, all the fire roasted chickens got all their makeup on, they're all dressed up in their sexy shit. They're in the back, they're in the room waiting. All of us boys have linked up. We've scoped out the chicks we like. We're on the prowl. We're about to go walk up and start spitting game. The food is on the table. The perishable food is all out. Everything's ready. And then at the last minute, the whole party gets rugged. Literally, that's what happened with PulseChain. And it has the opportunity to sour sentiment. And the sentiment of PulseChain, so much anticipation, like building and building and building, and just getting to this peak of intensity where everyone is excited. We're like, what did Richard say? 2 weeks away. Pulse is going to launch in 2 weeks. And we're all freaking out. We're all at the party. And then, boom, it got rugged. And now there's no definitive time. They're supposedly redoing the code. This is when we need to talk to someone like you who's been here before Hex was ever launched. And what I want to do is I want to describe the correlation. I want everyone in the community to understand Hex is Richard Hart product. And he's the one who hired it, got all the developers, went over all the details, and then actually launched it. We need to talk to someone like you who understands that process right now. Because if you're new to the PulseChain, you might be thinking the project got rugged and Richard took money and he's bailing out with $1 billion in PulseX and however hundreds of millions in PulseChain. So explain to everyone, what was the process with Hex? How long was Hex hung up the same way? Like, oh, Hex is going to come out, but it didn't. Hex is going to come out, but it didn't. Like, tell us what you had to go through, and then it actually launched. So people can see now, like, dude, this is normal. This is what happens with Richard Hart products. My intuition is that he doesn't want any downtime. He doesn't want 1 minute of downtime on any of his products or his projects. He wants to have 100% uptime, no bugs. So I think that's why he's doing it. But explain to people, what was that like being in Hex before it launched, having the party get set up and then rugged and over? Like, break that down now, because we really need to hear the track record.
Right. Yeah, it's a great question. And yeah, I love streaming with you because you're keeping me on point with some of these like good sentiments. You know, it's funny too, because last night I was kind of thinking about like, anyways, I'll answer your question. So last night I was kind of thinking about, you know, what I want to do for the stream or say for the stream and things like this. And I was kind of thinking about PulseChain because Maddie had just finished a 3-day long celebrating the first anniversary, right, of when the PulseChain sacrifice had come out. So and I just covered this earlier in the stream, you know, July 15th, 2021. And now it's July 17th, 2022. There's no PulseChain, you know? Anyways, the answer to your question is, this is exactly like how Hex was. And, you know, as far as the software predicament and the timing itself, I totally know what you mean, where it is kind of like blue balls, or it is kind of like that scenario where it's like, oh, mid-May, you know, no, you know, doesn't happen, like, you know. It's true. Analogies.
Brian
I'm
Hammer.
all about the analogies.
I love you, bro.
You know, and it's true. Like, you know, that can be disappointing for everyone that's just been waiting and, you know, sacrificed a good amount of money. And so the point is that sometime, especially with software, Richard talks about, so there's software and then there's cryptocurrency, you know, there's blockchains themselves, and, you know, blockchains are so much more, you know, complicated and difficult than say the software industry as a whole, you know. So if you look at something like Ethereum 2.0 and some of these things, it's very similar to PulseChain, where Vitalik has been giving some predictions and some guesstimations of when he thinks some of these things are going to be done. And then same thing, you know, we find out that, oh, there's XYZ complexity that is slowing us down a little bit more than we thought. And I think what it really comes down to is Richard, you know, it's just what you said. Richard talks about how, especially while everything else is burning, you know, some of these networks are going down. Some of these other things are completely rug pulling or going bankrupt, and Hex has 100% uptime. You're right that Richard wants to be able to say that PulseChain has 100% uptime too. And it's interesting because it's just so much more complicated from like an actual network itself versus, you know, the smart contract itself, and having to rely on, say, Ethereum as you know, the network that's doing the proof of work transactions like we have for Hex. And the reason that I say that is because with the Eric Wall debate, you know, the debate that they did, even though I'd consider them friends, you know, Eric was saying, hey, Richard, will you bet me that, you know, that PulseChain, I don't know what it was exactly, but he was saying that PulseChain wouldn't go down. And Richard said, no, I'm not going to take that side of the bet. And so I know that that's something that Richard's definitely, you know, kind of hung up on or maybe stressed about. He doesn't want a Solana, you know, no one wants, you know, such a thing like that to, you know, finally all of this anticipation that's been built up is released. And then all of a sudden, what the hell is this? The transaction's not going through, or message from Richard Hart, hey, blah, 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 network went down, we need to restart it. So what it comes down to is this is all normal, I would say, as far as the anticipation and all of us kind of thinking mid-May. I agree that same thing. I kind of thought it was going to happen too. You kind of get your hopes let down a little bit, but then at the end of the day, it's like, man, a lot of us, I mean, those that sacrificed at the beginning, it's been over a year long, so how much more time until the chain itself launches? Like, heck, it could be another 3-6 months, X amount of time. But for me, like with us already having waited a year, like personally, and what I would suggest to the other people as well, is that like, I'd rather it take 2 or 3 more months or half a year longer for us to kind of have the way that Richard envisions it, than for him to kind of capitulate to the audience. Even same thing, right? The whole meme with Hex was, and it's very similar to the PulseChain, which is, mid-May, 2 more weeks, things like this. But for Hex, it was 4 more weeks, and then it was another 4 more weeks. And then it was 4 more weeks for like 14 months, so it's kind of one of those things that's
what was that like when you were waiting for Hex to come out? Explain what was happening emotionally to you.
Yeah.
Because were you already in, or were you like, did you put your money in, or were you waiting to put your money in? Where were you financially at that point?
Yeah. So I was, because that was during the bear market, right? So beginning of, I'd say 2018 was kind of the beginning of the bear market.
How interesting that Richard Hart had delays during a bear with Hex. And do you see the correlations now?
I think, well, and it's so similar to where, to your point, where, you got KG the other day and one of the chats that said, hey, Richard, dispel the FUD. Are you waiting for the bottom? And he's like, no, absolutely not. So it's so similar that yeah, you've got a lot of people that are like, he's just waiting for the 11K and things like this, which I can understand why they would, speculate and think that as well. But as far as that went, like as far as what it was for me, I was in Bitcoin, because I had like been spread so thin, you can be spread so thin where all of a sudden you're not being productive. And then when the bear market came, I was like, oh my God, all these other altcoins that I thought were going to do well, I consolidated to Bitcoin. And then, to be honest, I just distracted myself with other things. Like I was actually watching a lot of Richard Hart's content during that time because I was trying to get prepared. I was trying to get prepared for, some of the wisdom that Richard's talked about. And, as far as Bitcoin and some of these other things go too, it's always the patience that's rewarded, whether it's, waiting for a better time to buy, or whether it's just waiting for a product to come out versus putting that capital in something else that might not do as well, or that, might be less secure.
It's the same with chicks too. Patience pays, y'all. Trust from your coach Lit. You start getting too impatient with the fire roasted, you'll see what I mean. If you have a good quality chick, patience pays. If you're just starting to date, patience pays. And it's the same with crypto. And I really love to hear your perspective on Hex and the 14 months up and down. Oh, it's going to launch. Oh, wait, no, it's not. Oh, it's going to launch. Oh, wait, no, it's not. And to understand, Hex was in a bear. There was launch dates set that weren't realized. However, once it actually launched, there's been 100% uptime. And I want you guys to just drink this in, okay? Bran just explained to a T exactly what it was like before Hex launched and the anticipation of the up and down. Now, years later, we're looking at PulseChain, and the expectation gets so high and then tanks. And guess what, y'all? There's something called haters out there, all right? Capital H, haters. And Richard Hart has them, okay? Even us as content creators, we have haters on our little channels. Bran, you know what I mean? So these haters, what they do, in my experience, is they look for holes in your game. They look for inconsistencies. They look for inauthenticities. They look for times where you blew it, and they can capitalize on the fact that you're not perfect. And guess what, y'all? Richard Hart has haters. So let me ask you the question. If Richard rushed the PulseChain and launched it when he said he was going to, what if there was vulnerabilities on the chain, like a vampire attack or a calculated attack from someone very smart? Imagine the haters who could actually get their claws in. And think about that. Richard Hart actually has to defend against attacks on the blockchain where people try to pile in and cause a crash or do something. How much of that do you think he is trying to protect us against? Like, I think that's probably a big part of why we haven't launched yet. I think it's strategy. I think he doesn't want to launch in a tanking market because that ruins his bragging rights of how well PulseChain is going to do. And I guarantee you, he's going to want to look at that PulseChain chart and say, look, here we are. And he's going to want to show it blowing up, not tanking down. Oh, we did good and then we tanked. So I think there's all these factors, but we also have to understand there's people who are trying to see Richard fail to say, haha, told you so. And how much of that do you think is causing the delay to where they have to retest the network and attack it themselves and look for vulnerabilities?
Well, it's a good question because, you know, once again, if Richard had just, you know, kind of taken his dev at his words with, you know, before Kyle had kind of come around, then Hex wouldn't be what it was today. It would have been a failed project. And then once again, you know, that would give, to your point, more fuel for the fire, for people to gaslight him or for people to say, see, you know, I told you he was a scammer. This, you know, he was talking up this thing the whole time, and, you know, and the shorter stakes outweighed the longer stakes. And so to your question, as far as, you know, what is the legitimacy of the people's concerns or kind of protecting the community against some of that, I think that's definitely what a lot of this is about, because like you mentioned, and as Richard has said, that, hey, you know, they could launch the network right now. I mean, you know, PulseChain itself, the testnet has been running flawlessly, I might add, for the past 6 months. But to your point, he does have a lot of high level haters as well that are very technical, that, you know, can, you know, spam the network and can do these validator things that could definitely, you know, slow things down or just be another vector that, as Richard had said, like, even if it didn't happen, would he want to launch knowing that those vulnerabilities could happen? You know, it's kind of like like, can you sleep at night with your head on the pillow comfortably? Or does he, you know, if he launched early, does he have that thought in his head, like, man, what kind of advanced person is going to be able to see that, hey, this could be an attack vector? And, you know, if he did launch early, all of a sudden you might be getting a call super early in the morning or late at night of, hey, we need to, you know, relaunch the network or restart the network and things. So you're right. I mean, Rich, and the other thing is too, is like, part of Richard calling the top and bragging and stuff like this is that, you know, he doesn't want to be wrong, and I might say he can't be wrong with some of this stuff, man, because otherwise it's like, yeah, you know, it does give those people some credit and some people to you know, feel to add on to the fire. So, you know, the way that he's done any business traditionally, and then now that we see with crypto, is taking his time, making sure that, you know, he said it the other day with Miss Teen Crypto Lady. He said, hey, out of all the people, and it's kind of an obvious question, but out of all the people that wants the networks to launch the most, who do you think it is? And he was alluding to himself, aside from, you know, the sacrificers. And so he wants it to launch just as much as we do. But, you know, I'll take him. You know, some people forget to realize that, I mean, he was, like you mentioned, in Bitcoin at $30, mining Bitcoin, full Bitcoin blocks, you know, 50 Bitcoin blocks twice a day for free, you know. And so he's had so much experience in the space itself that a lot, like, I've been in crypto for like 5.5 years. That's nothing compared to Richard. You know, he's, you know, many generations more experience from, you know, just having, you know, 5-6 more years on me and on some of the other people.
What is that? 100? Is that 100 Bitcoin a day he was mining?
Well, so he never alluded to, like, he never alluded to the exact amounts, but he said that with his graphics cards in 2011, that he was mining full 50 Bitcoin block rewards on his own, and that those sometimes would be, you know, two block rewards per day. So yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
So hold on, in 1 week he'd be making 700 Bitcoin Just think about that. Okay, right now, today, question. If you push the sell button and you sold 700 Bitcoin at 65 or 67K, what would that do to the chart?
I'm not too sure exactly what their liquidity pools, but yeah, I know it's definitely a lot more than it was when it was free to mine, you know?
So just break it down with me. If you're making 700 Bitcoin a week, how did he do it 1 week? No, he did it a long time. We have to actually find out how long he was mining these blocks in the early days. And we have to understand the power of our founder. I want to paint the picture so y'all understand. Our founder is a whale in Bitcoin. He's a Bitcoin whale. I asked the panel during the conference 2 days ago on day 2. I asked them kind of conspiratorially joking, but also halfway serious. Like, could Richard be Satoshi? And if not, is he at the level of Satoshi? And the answer among the board was that yes, 100% he's at or above the level of Satoshi, because Satoshi disappeared and Richard didn't. And I asked the question, who knows more about crypto than Richard Hart? And Bran, you've been here a long time in this community. Do you know anyone in the game who actually understands more about crypto than our founder?
So, as far as more, not that I've ever seen. As far as equivalent, I would say, and I think the guy's name is Jack. Who is this Google guy? This the number like 20, Jack Levin, Mr. Jack Levin on Twitter. So he mentions, and it's actually kind of interesting because, you know, like Richard's talked about, bought $30 top, it went all the way to $2. Jack Levin has been in since $2 Bitcoin, and he sold at 30 to Richard. You know, so he's the only person that I've ever known that was like,
wow,
yeah, you know, you sold the top, I actually, you know, or you bought the top, I sold it to you. So that was kind of interesting yesterday, as far as, you know, Maddie's 3-day long stream, and kind of him talking with Mr. Jack Levin and Richard Hart, because, you know, to your point, when it comes to cryptocurrency itself, like it's so new and it's so young compared to, say, like the rest of software. And so as far as people like Mr. Jack Levin and Richard Hart, I would say that they're pretty damn equivalent. I haven't heard so much from Jack that, you know, it's kind of hard to compare to the tens of thousands of hours literally that I've listened to Richard, but I know that they're very similar when I've listened to them separately.
Yeah. And
so yeah, maybe one other person, you know,
maybe one. And see, I want to kind of paint the picture of, like, we're dealing with the elite level pros in this PulseChain Hex game. These are the most highly qualified professionals in the crypto industry. And we have whales like Rackham, okay? A lot of people, like, say what you want about the dude, but when it comes to investing, Rackham is smart. And I have been talking with him, and he said in jest, he said his Bitcoin price, and he said, I wasn't as good as Richard. Richard did better than me, but he admitted that his cost in Bitcoin was less than $1. Okay. So if we take him at his word, and he says, I've been in Bitcoin long enough to his average cost is less than $1, and Richard's better than him, we have to assume, if he's telling the truth, that means Richard's DCA in Bitcoin is less than $1. Okay. So I just want to paint the picture of the amount of financial flex that our founder actually has. And if you just let me paint this picture. Your cost is less than $1 in Bitcoin, if that's true. And Bitcoin gets up to $50, $60, almost $70,000. The amount of profit is one thing, but Richard's already a billionaire. We know he doesn't need more money. I'm talking about the power to move the market. I'm talking about having such a big bag of Bitcoin that he could sell half of it or 3/4 of it. And imagine the pull, imagine the cascading effect just Richard Hart would have on the Bitcoin market. And now imagine one dude has that big of a bag and he's actively in the markets. He has building community members every day. And when he tweets something, thousands and thousands of people respond right away, and they're hanging on his every word. Now, imagine him actually making power moves in the Bitcoin market and affecting change. I 100% believe that's Richard Hart. I believe he is that powerful. I believe he does have that much pull. And I believe he has that big of a bag where he can actually sway whole market cycles. I bring all that up to say, who else would you want to invest in and get behind than a dude like that who can sway the direction of whole things, who's connected to many, many billionaires? And if you think about it, there's billionaires building projects on PulseChain. Do you think they're going to have a lack of funding? No way. They're going to keep fixing problems until they're successful. So when I see Richard Hart and I recognize he's an elite Bitcoin, probably one of the best, smartest people in the whole of the crypto game, and he's our founder, I am proud to have my channel and my finance connected to him. If we're like a train and Richard Hart are like the 4 locomotives in the front, I want my cart to be hooked up to that train, because look at all the power and clout and flexibility he has in this game. Look at all the connections he has, and look at how us HEXICANs respond if he needs something or if he tells us something. So I feel like in the whole of the investment world, not financial advice, I'm not a financial advisor and I don't want to be, but I truly believe we are at the winning seat in the poker table. We're about to get dealt the right hand, and you don't want to get up off this seat because we're in the right place. Do you feel that same sentiment?
Totally, hands down. And like you mentioned too, where like there's a saying like real recognize real type of deal. And it's so true in the business industry as well, where like you mentioned, I mean, Richard's been to a lot of these early Bitcoin conferences and some of these other things. You know, he was there for the early innovation. He had mentioned it with the Miss Teen crypto lady that I think Charlie Lee's brother is named like Bobby Lee, something like that. And she was talking about one of her sponsors, which was Bobby Lee. And Richard's like, yeah, I met him at XYZ conference in 2014. And like, to your point, who else would you want on your team? I mean, there's a reason why it's called Team Win, you know, because we're constantly winning. And like, man, even if you just look at like, you mentioned crypto and like, what was I doing before Hex? Like I was just sitting in Bitcoin, and honestly, I was like, okay, when Hex comes out, that's going to be my freaking Hail Mary. And if this shit doesn't work, then then I'm out. You know, I am out, because that was just like my first like 90% drop. You know, but the point is that following Richard and once again, like you can have discernment while you follow someone or while you listen to the information that they're telling you. Like always verify, never just blindly trust, you know, like a blindfold. But the point is I'll tell you the really cool thing that really broke my paradigm, and I know other people can relate to this as well. Richard has helped co-fund tornado.cash, where you can anonymize, you know, you can have anonymity with Ethereum, some of these other things. Well, it turns out tornado.cash did an airdrop, and like some of the people that I know got like $20,000 worth of free money. And then you've got things like what was it, Uniswap. Like when that first came out, I was watching a stream with Randy Hilarski on Discourse Syndicate, and same thing he was saying. He's like, anyone that just used Uniswap gets, I think it was like 500 tokens that was like $3 a piece. So it was like $1,500 worth of free money. And so it's like, where else in the crypto industry space do you have so many, you know, opportunities of free money, let alone PulseChain? And so for some of the people that, you know, I understand that sometimes it's really hard to be patient, especially when, you know, some of the information might be contrary to what's actually happened, right? As far as the, you know, mid-May, and then, okay, it hasn't launched yet. But, you know, that patience is always rewarded, because imagine the people that feel like it's too late for Hex. You know, they're going to have literally the opportunity to invest in PulseChain when, you know, when it's initially launched when it's day one. Like, it hasn't even launched yet. So, you know, how can you miss something that hasn't even launched yet? You know, there's so much opportunity. And when you mention, you know, Rackham and some of these other people, it's like, yeah, there's a lot of economic energy, a lot of power in the space, and other people that have been in the crypto industry for as long as Richard, they know his name, and a lot of them, you know, put respect on that name, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, you're damn right they respect him, and they understand. That's these debates, they don't go that well for people who go against Richard. And all the debates I've seen, he has this encircling effect where his knowledge base is so widespread. It's almost like he's out and around every corner. And these people step into an arena with him, and they don't get that Richard Hart has this wisdom of crypto that is at every wall, behind him, in front of him, at each side. And whatever they try to come at him with directly, he can just hit him from any angle with background, history, knowledge, facts, developers, things his developers taught him, things he already knew. He's literally like a fortress of knowledge. And when people try to penetrate it, they leave running. I've never seen anyone like really hold their own against him and try to take him out. And doesn't that kind of give you guys more confidence that we're dealing with a seasoned pro? And there may be a big delay in PulseChain, but it almost, when I'm talking to you and we're laying things out this way, doesn't it almost seem calculated? Like, he's not going to make himself open to the haters attacking him. He's not going to allow downtime. He's not going to launch during a bear. He is going to use game theory. Look at every single Richard Hart project and product. And what I found is that my entire channel, okay, and look at K4K, all right? K4K came late to the game with his channel. And what did he do? In 1 month, he blew up almost like 10,000 subscribers in a month. And I want to tell you guys how he did that, okay? This is how K4K did it. First of all, he's very talented and very smart. So his insight is really powerful, okay? First of all, he's just a really smart dude. I interviewed him. I got to talk. We got to do green screen before, and he's very smart. We all know that. But it was also a combination of things, okay? And I want to highlight the point right now by asking you, when you first started streaming Hex, I want you guys to think of like a lake, like a state park, all right? Imagine there's a state park and there's a lake and there's fish and you want to go fish. And when you catch a fish, you're stoked. You're like, all right, dude, me and the family are eating. We're going to have barbecued fish. I'm all stoked. Now, when you first started streaming Hex and you get views and subscribers, it's like catching fish and you're all stoked. Awesome. I got 100 subscribers. You're stoked.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like in the early days when you'd go fishing with Hex content, trying to build your channel? It was like a lot harder to build it because there wasn't many fish in the lake. What happened is I came along and I started pumping out first PulseChain channel, started getting crazy on it, and I still had a slow growth. Like, it took me months and months to grow my channel. And what I realized is that it was even harder for HEXICANs, early HEXICANs, to grow their channel, because you put the content out and there's not that many eyes to see it in the community. Then I come along and I started pumping, and a lot of channels have written me and been like, Lit, you inspired me to start my channel. And I have nothing but love for all you. I hope I can inspire all of you. I'm a coach for 20 years. I love inspiring people to be better. But I have had people tell me, dude, you're a huge reason why I started my channel. And what I've seen in the YouTube content creator realm is people getting more and more people, more and more eyes watching their stream and subscribing. And our community has been growing. So you started when we were a tiny little community. We were tiny. So when you put content out, there's only so many bites. And recently, it's kind of like a park ranger came and just stocked the lake full of fish. And now there's so many fish in the lake. What is there, 100,000 fish now in our community? Like, there's a lot, you guys get the analogy? So when K4K comes along and he's super talented and starts pumping out this really good content, what happens is there's a lot more eyes in the community to see it. And that is what that's what I'm talking about. It's this dandelion effect, okay, that hexicans have in the crypto market. And you were here earlier, one of the first like seed pods that blew up and had its own plant. And you're going to be able to look back and see all of the ways you affected this community. So I feel like we are just continually growing. And in another month, we'll be bigger. Even in a bear, even not launching, we're still going to grow. Have you seen the community grow and content creators be able to put content out and have more and more eyes on it? Have you been able to see that happening?
Totally. I have. And I like the way that you use analogies just as much as I do, man, because like it's how people learn, and it's how you can really get your point across and be succinct with actually painting an image, which I think is super important. So the way that I kind of see it, like you mentioned, the lake analogy, the way that I always kind of see it is like a body of water that's flat, and then, you know, like a little beaker or a little dropper, or just one drop, you know, and that one drop, I mean, in this analogy, I'd say would be Richard Hart kind of starting Hex. And then, you know, as it hits the water, you know, it kind of like slowly a whole bunch of rings. It's just kind of like a tree ring where like on the outside, the rings are bigger, but it just gets, you know, ever expanding. And so yeah, I mean, there's been, like you mentioned, you know, towards the beginning, some of it's was kind of like hard because maybe there was 2 or 3 people watching, and you're like, man, am I just talking to myself, or what am I doing here? You know, and it goes to show you, like, to be persistent and to not give up. You know, like the community itself, it's so cool. Like you mentioned with K4K and yourself and whoever else, like it's awesome to see the community itself, like. When people have talent, when they have, you know, skills, when they've got, you know, good information that they're presenting to the table, I love to see the people attract to it, and the people, you know, gain subscribers and things like that. Like Hexologist and Discourse Syndicate is where a lot of the community started, you know, same thing with Crypto Coffee. And then, you know, now you've got some people that have, you know, 2 or 3 times the subscribers than them. And it's like, that's a beautiful thing. That's kind of how the market itself works. And so it's awesome to see, man. And as far as the community and impact of growth, like how cool is it for someone like Richard to say that he, you know, from his invention. So this is kind of like similar with the PulseChain thing too, where it's like from Richard's invention of, say, Hex, it's created so many more new millionaires just by people that had invested in his product. And so I know that he wants to say that same thing with the largest airdrop in history. I know that he wants to say the same thing with PulseChain and PulseX. And so it's only going to get bigger. And like, here's the thing. So before you had jumped on, I was kind of just, you know, killing time and buying time. And Richard had joined 2 separate spaces that's on the channel as well. One of them was with some NFT guys. And so he was talking to, and Richard kind of does this almost, you know, hurting himself in the way that he kind of assumes things. But he was assuming that all these guys had known who he was or what PulseChain was, or that they were going to get an airdrop on their NFTs. And they kind of, you could tell from one of the guys' responses, they're like, Richard, what the hell are you even talking about? And then Richard's like, hey, you know, I'm forking Ethereum. Y'all are going to get a copy of, you know, all your ERC 721s, your JPEGs and things. So as far as the amount of people, like, first off, PulseChain hasn't even launched yet. But as far as the amount of people that are going to be aware of it once it launches is going to be immense. And it's going to be like that second drop, or it's going to be like a wave, you know, that really kind of has a whole bunch of mass and a whole bunch of effect. But sometimes things don't happen immediately. Like with Hex, honestly, you know, you ask like, how was the Hex staking in the beginning? You know, the Hex was so cheap and kind of not much to do in the beginning that there was nothing better than just taking large amounts and staking it out a super long time, because it just didn't seem like it was worth much anyways. And then all of a sudden, you know, 2 years later, 2.5 years later, etc., it's like, oh my gosh, that's so much value worth. So I think the same thing's going to happen with PulseChain, and, you know, people's patience is going to be rewarded. You know, the beautiful thing about the sacrifice, right, is there's no way for people to renege, you know, unless, you know, say PulseChain comes out and they end up selling early. But for those that have already kind of been trained to wait for like longer than a year, the patience is really where those gains can be multiplied and can really have that never work again money, or just that life-changing wealth. I mean, how many other people want to, help others, other than themselves?
Yeah, we really do have such an incredible community. And like, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the first time in history that this has ever happened, where someone's launching a financial asset and directly correlating it, okay, to Bitcoin, 6.9 million X. And they're saying not many people took the whole ride up. But if you would have, each $1 you put in would have been 6.9 million. Literally, that's the math. $1 you put in would be 6.9 million. And to actually hear a founder explain that and then create Hex, which force time locks your stake, unless you emergency end stake it and you get all kinds of penalties, you're being forced not to sell. It's like, people go to college and they want a PhD, and then their mind gets trained to think a certain way. We are being trained like PhD students in financial asset delayed gratification. I've never in history have I seen someone helping the common man in the investment world understand, if you hold this asset, you can have insane gains. He calls it mad gains. Think about that. This is probably one of the first times in history where a founder is openly teaching all of us through hex staking and through his analogies of Bitcoin and what happened. He's laying out the roadmap, and all we have to do is follow it. And I see these content creators, especially like you, being here before Hex ever even launched, feeling the anticipation, getting smacked down, feeling it rugged, but then, it's going to be next 2 months. And then finally seeing it launch. You're able to have gone through those up and downs. You staked early. You saw all the up and down of the actual Hex chart. Now we're here with PulseChain, and you're like the epitome of who we should be talking to. The community right now should be turning to these OG channels who have been here before Hex ever launched. You are the epitome of who we should be talking to right now, because you have the experience in the market with Richard Hart, with crypto, with these type of projects to say, hey, guess what, everyone? This is normal. There's nothing to worry about. Just settle down, go have some fun, pick up a new hobby. PulseChain will launch. It's already done this. This is how Richard Hart runs his communities, and he's protecting us long term. So I really feel like at this time, we need to be turning to the Hex OGs who've been here. And this is just a long-winded way of saying thank you for sticking with this community. Thank you for always being real. And you deserve this celebration today so much, bro. I'm so proud to be in your community and be in your fam. And like, I want all you subscribers to know, when I went through a really tough time in my life, I reached out to Bran first after a long hiatus. I literally was like, hey, I just want to talk. And he's like, sure. And we talked for over an hour, just random stuff. We didn't even really like talk about Hex or Pulse. And it's people like you that have that ability to connect that the community needs right now. So I'm really, really happy you're here, bro. I got so much love, and I want to hear from chat. Let everyone know how much you appreciate Bran. How long have you been watching Bran? Who's been here with him a long time? Let's give him some love because he deserves it. I'm super proud of you, bro.
Hey, thanks, man. And I appreciate that. I mean, the stream that I was actually listening to before this was one that was like a few weeks ago from, so it was with, and I'm been, maybe next week I'll have Corey on, but so Corey Costa, it was him, and it was Wendy's for Tendies. And, same thing, Wendy's for Tendies, Motley. A lot of these guys have been here since the beginning as well. And, I mean, for me, it was early 2017. Some, those two specifically are like 2016, if not earlier, But the thing that I'll say is it's not just kind of, as you're alluding to as well, it's not just the wealth creation, the value creation, and things like that, but it really is, as Wendy's Frutenis has talked about, the people itself. I mean, the long lasting relationships, because before growing up, it used to be like my brothers that I'd consider like my friends, and I had some friends outside of them, but not really, not really like friends that I could like legitimately talk with or talk deeply with. And then anyways, now with Hex in the community and PulseChain and all this other stuff, there's just so much, not only value creation that's going to happen in the future, like the 1,000 flowers blooming, but there's so many new, friendships or new ideas that people are coming up with that they're going to be, building on PulseChain and things like this that are really going to allow for a lot of prosperity. So it's awesome to see. And once again, as Richard talks about with delaying gratification, maybe no one expected, I mean, I sure as hell didn't, for it to be a year long and still going, waiting on PulseChain and things like this. But once again, if you just look at what the past has done before and it kind of rhyming or repeating, then it's like, okay, it's going to launch. Like you said, it's not like work isn't being done. You can see that the commits are being done in the GitLab and some of these other things. And then in the meantime, like you mentioned, nature abhors a vacuum. So if you can just fill your time with whether it's educating yourself, whether it's playing on the test net, looking at some of these other things, you can really be prepared for when it comes out. Because I promise you, one of these days, like I feel like we're gonna have no warning at all. Richard's just gonna have it freaking launched, and then all of a sudden it's gonna go from like test net to mainnet, and we're just gonna be like, oh shit, hope you were ready, hope you were testing it,
I think he's gonna be like, oh, the hard fork happened.
Yeah.
Snapshot happened. Go check your copies. We're gonna be like, what? Hey, I read a comment. Okay, I flipped over. Where is it? It said Bran is the definition of a HEXICAN. Come on, bro. That's one of the best compliments. Find it in chat, dude.
Oh yeah, Jonathan Kampala.
Jonathan
Nice to see you,
Kampala.
Jonathan.
Oh, such an epic. When I think of you, bro, I 100% feel like you are the definition of a HEXICAN. And there's a few people who remind me of that. Like Maddie reminds me of that. He is the definition of a HEXICAN. He's putting on conferences. He's been an OG. And you are the definition of a HEXICAN, bro. Look at this. You deserve this, man.
No, it's pretty heartwarming, man. Like, and once again, too, the first person I had seen was RD3 in person, because he happened to be, like I'm in the Seattle area. He happened to be, a couple of cities away. And it's really cool to see that this isn't just like fluff. It isn't just BS, it's like, it's legitimate. And so whether it's some of the people in Australia that haven't been to America yet, or some of these other things, it's cool to see some of the other communities kind of doing their own local meetups. And like, we've got like a Washington State HEXICAN group and things like this. And we're gonna start going on some hikes together and things. And we've already kind of gone out to lunch together a couple times. But how cool is it to, someone like Jim Rat Crypto is doing like a fitness challenge? Like, how cool is it to, say, like I said, do a hike together and maybe get a photo with like a big banner that's got like Washington State HEXICANs, or, kind of just leading by example and hanging out and making friendships. Cause, once you have the wealth, that's great. But it's also nice to have, friends and people that you care about. Or like you mentioned, I mean, not everyone is going through easy times, some are tougher than others. And so it's nice to be able to talk with people that you can confide in and trust that aren't gonna, spill the beans on what's going on and just be there for you.
Yeah. And I think like, you really do, like, I want people to understand, if anyone can dispel the FUD, it's your coach Lit and it's Bran Hammer. Seriously. Like, we are FUD dispellers. If you listen to us, it's going to be hard to be bearish on PulseChain or Hex. It's just, you're going to have to really seriously try to undermine our points. And I don't know how you can. Like, how do you undermine the conversation we've just had? I don't think you can really undermine it, because everything we've said is rooted in fact. And not only that, people need to understand how deep of a Hex OG you are. You were around before Hex was ever even invented. You got to ride the ups and downs pre-Hex. And what people need to understand is that these people who first saw Richard Hart doing self-help work, That's how I was introduced to him. When I looked up Richard Hart, you didn't see these opening of Versace's and spending 40 or 60 or 80 grand on frivolous things that he doesn't need. He did that to try to like throw flair out to the community and be like, look at me, I don't need money. And it attracts a certain type of person. I didn't meet Richard that way. I met him with his heartfelt eye contact, sincerity for hours long. I think one of the first videos I saw was someone asked him if they should become a software developer.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That video is incredible. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's super technical, and you know, yeah. So, sorry to your point. It's super technical, and it goes to show you like this guy, like you mentioned, and Wendy said this too. If he had seen, and I'll honestly speak for myself too, if I had seen Richard if I hadn't like known about Richard, you know, 5.5 years ago and things like that, and actually watched him, if I had seen him today, I might be like, who the F's this guy, you know? Because I initially was like kind of turned off by some of the high ego stuff. And then it's like, okay, you know, there's a difference between, you know, confidence and then, you know, earned competence. And so obviously a lot of the stuff that he's earned, but you're definitely right, man. So you want to be a software developer was super technical, and it goes to show you that there's a different level of what he's doing. It's like the, you know, 5D or 10D chess.
It is. And like, I want, like, if we have new onboards, that's what we have to show them. We have to show him, we have to show these new onboards, this is actually the real founder. And what's happened is, who knows how me and you are going to be in 5 years? You know, hopefully we're still the same. I mean, I'm going to be that way. I come from a hardened, I grew up gnarly. So if I was going to turn, I already would have turned. Trust me. I already would have been completely different. But I made the decisions I do to get into this self-help world and become a power coach and help people. So I'm a good example of like learning from horrible stuff and then making a decision to be different. And that's something that I do. And I want you all to take that too. Like if you have something squash you down in life that's flattening you and trying to change your shape, remember, the energy inside of you is malleable, okay? And malleable metals, they're metals that you can bend into shape. You can change their shape. So malleability is something that you have within you. And that malleability has power. And your power can either allow yourself to get squashed and change shape and become different from others around you, or you can let life squash you and then bounce back into a new and better shape. And that shape can define who you are and how you enter situations, how your mind works, how you hold yourself, the kind of posture you have, the way your mind allows it to think. And when you work with yourself on how you think, you can develop a flow about yourself. And that flow contains charisma. And in that charisma, you have a choice to hold on to it or let it get flattened. And in this community, we're given a choice right now. Do we let PulseChain delay and the blue balls of PulseChain not launching when we thought at the party with all these hot fire roasteds everywhere? Do we let that squash us down and change our shape? Or do we bounce back into a stronger shape than ever and understand delayed gratification? Everything's happening for a reason. We're at the right table. We're in the right chair. It's just the winning hand hasn't been dealt yet, but it's going to be. So we have a choice here. And this is why I'm so happy to be on your show with you and help steer everyone in the community to understand there are a few Hex OGs who we need to talk to right now. And they bring up the best points, like Richard's earlier videos. We want to be looking at this earlier time because our changes may get moved around, but ultimately on this PulseChain Hex game, we are going to win. I feel it in my heart. I'm not a financial advisor, but do you feel that same energy? Like, do you almost like in the back of your head, do you know we're going to win? Like, do you?
Yeah, I do. And, you know, once again, like you had asked, as far as some of the unsettling thoughts or feelings or beliefs or whatever that people might be going through that just sacrificed a little bit over a year ago, and they're wondering, what the hell did I just do? Like, is some of these things that other people are saying correct? And the answer is no. Like the FUD is not true. It's just doing the same thing that it did last time. And so, like you mentioned with your channel, I mean, you've nearly been streaming and or doing videos about PulseChain for over a year. And like, just imagine that so we've been in a bear market for a little while, been going sideways and down for a little while. Just imagine when the price itself starts to, not the price itself, sorry, imagine when the chain itself actually launches and then the market itself starts to go back into a bull market. There's going to be because naturally in bear markets, there's just less interest. You've got people that are down so significantly on their bags. Some sell, some get out. And then some stay. And, like Wendy's has talked about, like Richard has talked about, a bear market is where you should be building. And so people like your channel, my channel, whoever else's channels, it's cool to see that there's going to be a huge wave of people that are hungry for, what the heck is this new PulseChain? Like once it launches, there's going to be so many people that maybe doubted Richard, that didn't think that it was going to be true. And then they're going to be like, oh, wait, like I actually have coins in my wallet. How do I do this? And so that's when they're really going to find the PulseChain community, people like yourself and myself. And the best thing that you can do is just stay consistent and try and stay productive. It doesn't get necessarily any easier, but if you realize that things in life, almost everything in life is cyclical, then you can kind of just see what stage of the market that you're in and, do other things that are more productive. If crypto isn't treating you right, or, your bag's down and things like this, like it is for a lot of people, then yeah, like you mentioned, find something else to do in the meantime. Don't sell and leave, find something to do, hold on to your position, maybe. And then once it starts to go back up again, that's usually when people are happy that they didn't sell at such low prices.
Yeah, I think I want to ask the chat, and I want to ask you, like, during the bear when everything is tanking, be totally honest. You can have a negative opinion on PulseChain or what, but with your money, with your hard-earned cash that you're putting into crypto to try to grow your bag, is there anywhere else you'd rather be in a bear than a pre-launched PulseChain and PulseX? Even though we haven't launched, even though there's all this stuff holding us back, is there anywhere else you'd actually want your money right now?
For me, yeah, for me, I'll just answer, I had kind of made that decision a while back, like I mentioned, when I was in Bitcoin during the last bear market, kind of just holding everything down. Once I had seen Hex perform through a bear market, and obviously nothing goes up forever, things are going up and going down. And like you mentioned, or like Richard's talked about, it's the things that have product market fit, that have utility, that have good communities, that do the up and they do the down, but then, they consolidate sideways and they make that next leg up, as long as they're kind of beating the S curve and still gaining adoption. But like you mentioned, as far as the rest of the market goes, I mean, look at all the people, and it's so interesting that now you start to see, people before like BitBoy, he had been asked on his channel, he's got over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. He'd been asked on his channel that, hey, I heard that you sacrificed for PulseChain. Are you going to talk about it? Things like this. And he's like, yeah, I sacrificed for PulseChain, but I'm not going to talk about it. And then all of a sudden, Richard, calls the top. He's got like a rough estimate for the bottom, says with things like Celsius, block fee, Voyager, get your keys into your own possession and off the exchanges. And it's so interesting that, it sucks that that's the way that it has to happen sometimes, is for people to get brutally wrecked, or for people to have listened to those influencers on YouTube that get wrecked, that realize, wait, this guy with the candelabra that I thought was crazy, he was actually the one that was right, So he's got like a winning track record, and a lot of it, like you mentioned, a lot of it's calculated.
Yeah, I feel really blessed to be here in this community. I know that when I had things turn on me, the community was here for me, and we're bigger than we realize. Okay, we really are. We're more connected. We're bigger than we realize, and I want to be the voice of reason to turn to these Hex OG channels that knew about Richard before we were ever anything, before there was ever a 10,000X, before Hex even launched. I want to go back in time to truly understand who our founder is and understand that some of the stuff we're seeing now, some of this high ego flair that he's throwing out, this is just a piece of his personality, but deep down, he actually really cares. And you don't write these self-help books and try to help people unless you actually care. And anyone who does, that doesn't care, will get exposed at a certain point. You'll be able to feel the inauthenticity. You'll be able to understand, oh, that dude's totally whack. He's not actually real. And how many times have we seen Richard Hart tested where we actually have been able to say, okay, look, he's real. And one of my favorite points recently is the fact that his developers found a way to code all the sacrifices that went to centralized exchanges and were lost forever.
Mm-hmm.
They found a way to retrieve them and actually put them back in your wallet. That right there, that just shows you how badass this community is. I mean, think about that. I remember when my channel first started, because I started the last day of the sacrifice as my first Pulse video. So literally, I remember people almost being like, dude, I'm in tears. Like in the PulseChain chat, they're freaking out. They said, I just sacrificed my whole bag to the wrong address. And I remember, you know, I remember people being like, remember Walrus being like, dude, I'm sorry. I'll try to create a letter to the exchange for all the people who've done that. You're not alone. And it was a thing for like a whole year. People are thinking, oh my God, I just like sacked my whole bag, or I sacked half my bag, or even people who sacked $500 and are bummed about it. They found a way to retrieve that. And like to all the haters out there who say Pulse is going to get rugged, seriously, if this was a scam, would they be doing that? Would they be working on the code to reroute those sacks from centralized exchanges that totally did it wrong to make sure they would get it? I don't think so. I don't think that's how you use your resource in a scam. And if it is a scam, this is like the biggest crypto scam in all of history ever. And what is your sentiment on that? Do you think Richard Hart wants to be attached to the biggest scam in history of crypto?
Of course not. And like you mentioned as well, I mean, sure, there's no expectations of profit from the work of others, right? But like you mentioned, I mean, you know, Richard's last name is Schueler, you know, it's not Hart, but he chose Hart because he's got a big heart. You know, he chose that intentionally because he wants the best for people. And like you mentioned too, I mean, he could have, you know, screwed off and done, you know, he could be doing whatever he wants to do right now before he even created Hex and some of these other things. But he wanted to create, you know, value for other people. And he wanted to give other people, you mentioned with Bitcoin, from a penny to $69,000 to 6.9 million X. Imagine how much better the world can be if we have more people like Richard Hart that maybe just haven't seen the gains yet, or that maybe haven't, you know, had some of the financial abilities to do these things that they want to do yet, but are going to be able to in the future with some of their mad gains, with some of the, you know, success they see with PulseChain, PulseX, in Hex. And so you're right. He, you know, he's got a big heart, and to the point where it's like, you know, same thing. I remember he would say like the people that sacrificed, that didn't listen to these exchanges are dum-dums. And, you know, we got to save the dum-dums in some of these things. And I used to take the position with whales only. That's like, man, screw those people. Like they didn't listen. They kind of acted on emotions versus actually doing it. And then, you know, in hindsight, it totally makes sense that what Richard's doing is optimizing for everyone. And, you know, at the end of the day, like you want it to be a good experience when you get into cryptocurrency. You don't want it to be a bad experience. So I'm happy that Richard is saving a lot of people from those potential bad experiences. And you mentioned the community as well. I mean, literally other communities in Telegram, they'll usually prey on people that have less knowledge. You know, they'll see that they're asking, you know, newbie crypto questions, and then they'll try and direct message them or private message them and get them to give them their seed phrase or pretend that they're their friend. Yeah. But in Hex, we've got so much free support. We've got so many channels, like you mentioned, people that you can talk with, you know, and it's cool to see.
Yeah, and I also want to I want to put this out to the community. that if we have these older channels who have weathered the storm and they've been through thick and thin, make sure that you still check in on these channels and don't let them get left in the dust, because these are the people who we actually need their tenure. We need their tenure. That tenure has battled through storms, ups and downs, and they're still here. And anyone who's still here that didn't bail on us in a bear and is sticking loyal like you have been through the ups, through the downs. You're still here with a smile on your face, celebrating with us HEXICANs. We need channels like you to keep going. You have a wealth of knowledge, whether you realize it or not. You're so important to this community. And I hope anyone who watches this stream can understand the point that I'm making, is that when the going gets tough, you want to turn to the Hex OGs who've been through this before, and they can clear the FUD. I can clear the FUD as a coach, but I have an OG mindset. I come from the stock market where any stock that I picked, I was thinking 3 to 5 year hold. Okay. And that's the staker mentality, is minimum 3 to 5 year hold. That's how stakers think. You want to delay gratification. And I learned in the stock market, I didn't learn from amateurs. I learned from my fire roasted families who are incredibly high level Bay Area brokers. All right. In the Bay Area, I saw this chart about the Bay Area, and what it was is it was a mile radius, and it was like within like 25 or 50 miles radius on a map. They added up how much money goes into that area, how much money comes in and out of that area. And the San Francisco Bay Area was the most concentrated place in the entire map of the world. There was like 2 or 3 other places that looked as concentrated. San Francisco Bay Area has more money coming in and out per mile than almost anywhere in the whole world. So when you understand the money cycles and you understand certain areas have affluence, certain companies are here, there's all kinds of CEOs of major worldwide conglomerations that live here. You have to look at this economy, and you have to realize there's macroeconomics, where there's supply chain and money printing and inflation and the whole system we live in. Then there's microeconomics, where you look at an altcoin or something like we're into, and there is correlation. So in that subset, in understanding macro and microeconomics, there's a lot of places to get lost. It's really easy to get lost and not know how to navigate yourself. And at that point, you turn to channels like Bran. You have to have these OGs who've been through the game who can say, hey, y'all, this happened with Hex. Everyone thought Hex was going to come out, and it didn't. Everyone thought Hex in 2 months was going to come out, and it didn't. And that went on for 14 months. And what happened when it actually launched? What happened? We went up, we went down, then we skyrocketed. Parabolic moonrunner. Insane gaining moonrunner. And when we talk to people like you, and like you said, Discourse Syndicate and RG3, the captain, when you talk to these people about what's going on, they have a more tenured perspective. And that tenure is what will carry us through a bear. So I just have so much love and respect for you, bro. I hope everyone in the chat really understands the wealth of knowledge and stability you bring to this community. And I just want to congratulate you so hard, bro. You're such an awesome part of this community, and I got major love and respect for you always.
Well, hell yeah, man. I appreciate it. And, I guess, how does it get much better than that, dude? It doesn't get much better than the stream that we've done, dude. It's, Marion was saying such a positive stream, which I completely agree with. And, in the most because life is definitely abundant, like the cup half full versus half empty type thing. And it's cool the actual caliber of people, and just the almost infinite amount of these kinds of people, whether it's Motley or Maddie or yourself or RG3 or Hexo, whoever else, Coin Investor, there's a million different names, Marion and Nardo, that I could list off the top of my head that are just genuine, down to earth people that, similar to yourself, where it's no BS, and it's wanting to, some people say one thing, and then off screen or with their actions, they'll do another. And then other people, they say one thing and then they actually do that thing and they want that thing. So I said all that to say that it's exciting that, you know, the community for PulseChain, it's nearly twice as big on Telegram as it is for Hex. And it's just cool to see where we're going to go, man. Like there's so much, you know, infinite potential, and, you know, giving everyone the world's largest airdrop and a duplicate, that's just going to be the beginning. You know, how many more, you know, people is Richard Hart or these other streamers, are they going to inspire that want to do something else that helps the world to be a better place instead of a worse place?
And look, I'm gonna be buying PulseCoin. All right, y'all. I'm just laying that out there. I sacked. I'm proud. I'm stoked. But if people are gonna dump their Pulse and put a dip in the chart, I'm gonna be there to buy it. And I'm curious. I want to hear in the chat, how many of you share the same sentiment that this is the asset you want to be in on? This is where you want to be. And if people are gonna sell their Pulse for a tiny little 10x or 100x, wherever they're at, long term, I see such a high value proposition in being in PulseChain early. Bring it on. Sell your Pulse. I'll buy it. You feel the sentiment? Do you feel the same way?
Yeah.
Like, bring it on. I want that Pulse coin, dude.
Well, and the thing that I'll say with that as well is like you mentioned, where I think people should kind of have that expectation that, you know, just like the price can go higher, it can go lower. And you know, the same thing could very well happen with PulseChain as what happened with Hex, where it launches and then there's a significant dump, right? Maybe the people that sacrificed, you know, maybe they overextended themselves, things like this. But the point is like you mentioned, you know, when you're investing in anything, you should kind of have like a time frame, and you should kind of have a time frame of you know, when you want to take some profits or where you think it's actually going to be going with what you're actually investing in. So say if it dips 90% or X amount, then yeah, other people see that as an opportunity versus like a doom and gloom. And so that's really when you know that you're in a great product, because you're right, it is going to dip. It is going to have insane moon gain runners as well. So it'll be fun to be a part of both of those, the dips and the rips.
And your unique experience as a tenured HEXICAN, do you have any dry powder like waiting for this, or are you going to put some dry powder together? What is your view on the potential opportunities to buy Pulse once it launches?
Yeah, so I've had a portion of the bag kind of just sitting on the side in USDC that is dry powder just waiting. I mean, you know, and once again too, you know, people like I said, I was listening to the Wendy's for Tennies and Corey stream before this, and Wendy's was talking about how, like, you know, you kind of learn from these cycles. I mean, you know, sometimes it takes 1 or 2 cycles to realize, okay, you know, obviously when you see 5x, 10x, whatever, you can start to slowly pull some profit and just put it in a separate address or account for later. Because if it ends up doing a full market cycle and going down, then as long as there's no reason that it went down that was, you know, nefarious, or the network was going off like a you know, a Luna type deal, then you know that, hey, this is where the immense opportunity is. And so when other people are dumping and they're just, you know, lowering the value of something, people that are contrarians tend to do the best in markets.
Yeah, you see, I'm all about hodling through the FUD. I'm all about coaching through the trauma. I've worked with people for 20 years, and what happens is they get these roadblocks and they end up allowing like they allow situations from their environment to impact them, and they end up changing their shape. And now they walk through life with this altered shape, and they're not as happy, and they lose their power. And part of my job is to help remold that shape. And there's a point where people look at me and they try to give me their power, and they say, oh, I couldn't have done this without you. You're so special. And I stop them and I go, hell no. I'm a normal dude. I have flaws. I make mistakes. Look, when my mom died and I got sued and I had all these issues internally with the family, and I had that special teaching from my teacher that kind of hit the reset button for me, I faltered. I lost my power, and I couldn't find myself. My shape got changed, and I'm moving through life in a way where I couldn't dispel love and respect and positivity authentically to you Hexicans. I couldn't do it. I literally have 7, 8, 9 recordings of videos, and I played them back to myself, and I felt my energy, and I said, dude, I can't release this. This isn't me. Like, I can't authentically transfer myself to the community the way I need to. And I took a step back. And even a power coach for 20 years, you have times where you falter. No one's perfect. But what matters is when your shape has changed, do you have the ability to reshape yourself and keep going? It's not that you're not going to fall down. It's that when you fall down, will you pick yourself up and dust your pants off? And that's how I coach people. And when they try to give me credit and say, Lit, you changed my life, I stop them and say, nope, you did that. I just helped guide you in the right direction. That's all I did. I helped remind you that the power is within you already. And Hex OGs like you, it's kind of what you do, bro. You're kind of doing that for the community. You're reminding us, hey, whatever shape you're in right now, however you feel squashed or moved, if you don't have flexibility, you're going to have it if you relax. If you understand you're in the right seat and the game hasn't started, but that hand you're going to get is going to win big because you're in the PulseChain sacrifice, you're in the PulseX sacrifice, you're in the Hex community, and here's the track record. And when we can understand that, be real, bro. It becomes illogical to get up off the table and leave that hand. It becomes illogical. Like, why would you get away from this table now? You don't get away. You just stick it out. And however your shape has changed, you allow yourself to come back to a form that's flexible and comfortable.
Yeah, and that's where this community is so beneficial, like you mentioned, because you've got, just as far as like you mentioned with the molding thing, or everyone's going through ups and downs, but it's nice to have a community, like you say, whether it's with crypto bear markets or whether it's with health or any of these other things. It's cool to have such a diverse and broad community that has so many of these different expertises, and that are willing to communicate and chit chat, or at least share their experiences with other people that are just going through that. Because like you mentioned, it doesn't get any easier, especially if someone's just going through it the first time. But then when you see, hey, these other people have been through this, many times, or some of these other things that they can kind of say to, get you out of the funk, that really makes all the difference in the world with whether someone stays or whether they go. So that's an awesome point that you mentioned.
All these new onboards, they need to be on your channel, bro. They need to be listening to the knowledge you have. They need to really understand your tenure. And that's how you get insane gaining moon runners. You watch people like Bran Hammer, all right? And correct me if I'm wrong. I want to find out the origin of that. Did Jim Rat Crypto name you Bran Hammer? Because that's the first time I ever heard it used. And I absolutely love that. I'm going to tell y'all why I love that name. Because you're super chill, okay? You're one of the youngest HEXICAN streamers. Only you hang with the OGs and the big dogs beyond your years of wisdom and knowledge. And if people actually watch your stream, you present yourself chill. I get lit. Everyone knows me. I get hectic on my streams. You're always calm and poised. But when you speak, you have the fucking hammer of knowledge. Boom! And we call you Brand Hammer because you're stable and consistent and you're just strong as steel. And we really appreciate you. What is the origin of Brand Hammer? Where did it come from?
Honestly, I should know. I know Jerry's saying I don't like it. Actually, I like it, dude. I like the name a lot. I love nicknames.
I love that name for you, bro. I love Brand Hammer. I'm like, fucking smash it, bro.
No, I was just clarifying in case there's any confusion. That's something we're gonna have to get down to, because you're right. Jim Rat, he was one of the first people I remember saying that, and it was either him or some of the guys on. Well, because Knights of Crypto, and then there was Jim Rat that was on a few times. It might have, I think it was Jim Rat. Like, we'll have to consensusly get down to that. But yeah, you're right.
Can we get him on a stream? I want to do a stream with you and Jim Rat. Okay.
Yeah, dude, let's do it.
Let me just lay it down. One of the first streams I heard Jim Rat do was with you. Were you the first HEXICAN who invited him on?
No, because I saw Motley and Jim Rat do a stream before
So you're
I
the
had him
second.
on mine. Yeah.
You're the
Maybe
second.
second or third, something like
Okay.
that. Yeah.
Okay. I had family in town. We were going to a restaurant. We were eating, and I had your stream on my phone, ignoring everyone on purpose, telling them, "Hold on, I need to watch this." And that stream was so captivating and so good. I remember telling myself, I'm going to stream with these boys. So we actually have to put that into let's actually create that.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Yeah.
I'll reach out, you reach out, and we'll just in the next week, let's link up with Jim Rat and have a fire stream, just us three.
I'm down. Yeah, I got his number. I can message him. We'll get it set up. That sounds fun.
I'm so stoked. Bro, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for having me on the stream. HEXICANs, I love your faces. I love all y'all. I got so much love for this community. And I want you all to spread this on your socials and get the community to get behind Bran. Seriously, this is one of the coolest HEXICANs you'll ever meet. And I'm just so proud to be here with you, bro. I think we're witnessing history in slow motion make itself. And in 5 years, we're going to look back and we're going to say, oh my God, it seems so long. But 5 years ahead, we're going to go, dude, that was nothing. That 6 months of a bear, that 1 year, 2 years, that was nothing. And we got through it. And now I own these homes. I got this fire roasted. I got all this fluidity with finance to do what I want. And that comes from staying calm and poised in the bear and not walking away from the table. And that's what we can learn from you. We can learn that you're in the right seat, just chill.
Well, hell, dude, I don't think it gets better than that to end it on, man. I appreciate you, you coming on as well. And same thing, the community is there for each other. And it's really cool to be able to, just meet genuine people that I probably wouldn't have met anywhere else, to be honest, had I not been a part of the community or realized that there were so many people that had followed Richard. So let's end it here. And then, we'll get together with yourself and with Jim Rat.
Yeah.
And we'll do another stream, man. That sounds really fun. And same thing, dude, your energy is always, it is always lit, and it's always, it's really motivating.
So much love, bro. I look forward to connecting soon. Love all you HEXICANs and spread the word. Bran has 5,555 subscribers. No one deserves a celebration more. I'm so stoked on you, bro. Major love.
Hey, thanks. Before we end out, so in the description, everyone, I will put Lit's channel. This is just his channel on YouTube, but we're going to share it as well in the comments. Since he was here pretty much the whole time, and same thing. If some of you, for whatever reason, haven't seen his channel, definitely go give him a subscribe. It's My Life is Awesome right here. And then we're gonna end it now. And then, like I said, thank you for coming on, man. And we're gonna do another one soon in the future. So until then, here's the outro.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like. Be sure to share. Be sure to comment. Say heck. Heck yeah. Say heck, heck. Heck yeah. Say heck. Say heck yeah. Say heck. Steak that 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 heck. Every time I look up, price went up. I go to the store, come back, price went up. Every time I look up, price went up. No matter what I do, price is still going up. Hell yeah. Ching, ching, motherfucker. Ching, ching. I am the book. Ching, ching, motherfucker. I just keep hitting jackpot after motherfucking jackpot. We still jackpot, bitch.
Thank you, Richard, for creating and founding the most amazing and disruptive financial technology cryptocurrency ever. Thank you, sir. And nice streams, Mr. Ballietbran. It's fabulous.